All right, I got to stop in and talk about this reality show, Southern Hospitality, which is created and it's the storylines within Leva, who Leva was originally on Southern Charm on Bravo TV. It is so good. It is so good. It is so good. It is so good. And, fourth season was like, I mean, it's as if they're just getting started. It's always really exciting to see a show or see anything for that matter that feels like, wow, like, it is a bit underrated, but that's not the reason you watch it, but you could kind of feel like it's bubbling up and getting better and better. And that's to say on Bravo TV specifically, reality, the genre hasn't really been delivering maybe as it once did. A lot of the I don't want to say gimmicks, but a lot of the shows have gimmicks, or if the show really doesn't have a lot of substance, like they'll come up with something that's it really goes there, but it's actually feels more fabricated than authentic. You watch the shows because this is fun. Escapism TV, is what a lot of viewers really tend to feel. It's how I feel. I'm like, okay, cool. After a long day, or you just want to kind of laugh a little bit, or like say, ooh, that was juicy. But it shouldn't be much more than that. And if it has a good quality cast, it does the job. Okay, and I think Southern Hospitality really is a show on Bravo that it's kind of underrated, but I don't want to say underrated in a way that I'm like, oh, because it's underrated, that's why it's so good. As if like, ooh, it's still ours, as viewers, like, only the cool viewers know. I'm not saying anything like that particularly, but it is a show that doesn't get all this attention as some of the other shows, but darn well it should. Let me just kind of say a couple thoughts on like the four seasons in general, how much I liked Leva, even when she did Southern Charm. And I always say this, it's so funny because you do forget and you do miss this. Leva, she's the business owner on Southern Hospitality, so she owns where they work, the establishment that they work, as well as others, called Republic is the kind of the setting. It's very Lisa Vanderpump working at the restaurant Sir Vanderpump Rules. It's the same formula. Well, Leva, if you go back and watch season 1, episode 1, she actually is right there with Catherine Dennis. Remember Catherine Dennis from the beginning? She's right there with Catherine on episode 1 of Southern Charm. So I say that as like, she not only has always sort of been in the mix of the show, because she didn't come on to Southern Charm for many years later, but she's also been in the mix of like things that are going on in Charleston, I imagine, both with the show and all the success with her business, her several business ventures with her husband. How she compares, and then I want to talk about the cast. Oh my gosh, I want to talk about the cast. They're so good. How she compares to like, if Lisa Vanderpump is to Sir, Leva is to Republic. One thing I will say, what makes it different, well, probably the thing that makes it different is that it is different. And that's actually a really good thing. It's different because I think one of the challenging things with Southern Hospitality, or anyone who does a formula like this, is that you're going to seem like you're doing the same thing. So how's it going to be new? How's it going to feel different? I think over the course of Vanderpump Rules' success on Bravo TV, you've seen like, I think MTV did a show with Lindsay Lohan where they did the beach club. It was, I believe it was in Greece. And then you have the Abbey, the establishment, the Abbey. They did something on the E! Channel, but nothing has ever hit, really, as far as like a cool establishment and kind of making a reality TV show out of it. There hasn't really been that same success. Like the recipe didn't really translate, so to speak. But with Southern Hospitality, for whatever reason, it kind of is. And so comparing Leva to Lisa, I think the best bet was that it never felt the same. Like it felt the same because you were like, Leva is in that same role, but it never felt the same. And I'm going to kind of jump ahead. Leva really, outside of the first season when it was kind of being formulated, you had to learn the characters, her staff and everything. Leva does it much differently. For one, she's not on camera as much as Lisa Vanderpump. And for two, the way she carries herself is very different than Lisa. Like, not to say it in a bad way to Lisa, but Lisa looks like she cares. Lisa looks like she really enjoys, like, this is the best moment of her day, that she gets to do her confessionals and talk about how she, this is how my business is, and this is how I run it, and this is what we need to do, and I want my staff to be good, and I care, etc., etc. Leva, of course, cares, but you almost feel like you're getting a sense of Leva. Like, what we're getting from her isn't like, okay, I'm excited, I got to do my confessionals, and this is what I think. And she's almost more like, for some weird reason, you're like watching a business owner. And I don't want to say like Lisa's not as involved, but it almost does feel like Leva. This is like, I'm going to do this show, I'm going to do this reality show, and I, of course, would love for the success of the employees / cast members, but it is her business, and she really runs it differently. I can't describe to you how much, and Leva would probably agree, and Lisa would probably agree, because it's not negative. It's just Lisa feels more, and I don't want to use the word, but like a figurehead in that boss entrepreneurial position. Though she's a boss in general, like, I'm saying apples to apples, right? Is that the term? Apples to oranges means opposite. Apples to apples. Apples to apples, like side by side. Like, Lisa, of course, is entrepreneurial, but in terms of SUR, is she running SUR? It doesn't really feel that way to the way Leva, when you do see her on the show, is running Republic. Because she really doesn't, there is no, like, takeaway. There's no, like, I'm going to, like, build something that makes you feel warm and fuzzy, or if it's a negative thing, I'm going to tell this staff member and I'm going to inspire them, or I'm going to fire them. It doesn't even feel like that. It feels like literally every move she makes is like, I need Republic and these other establishments here in Charleston to do amazing. And that's like, I almost want to say, like, she probably had a really big sit down with the network, like, let's do this show, but there will be nothing that will come in the way of like what she's already built. Whereas Lisa, I feel like she feels the same way about SUR Restaurant, but I also feel like, whoop, if a scandal drops in the middle of the cast, it's like, the biggest story on Entertainment Tonight, or, tabloids. Like, I think Lisa likes that in a way that Leva doesn't. Okay, now I've spent way too much time comparing Vanderpump Rules, because, I would like to say I'm a reality TV expert, a reality TV historian, all those things. But comparing Vanderpump to Southern Hospitality, just so you're like there. Okay, now this is like, I'm telling you, pound for pound, or what did we say a second ago? Apples to apples. Southern Hospitality is amazing, but what I will say is I was sleeping on it at the beginning. And I will also say that I think that season 1 doesn't really hit as hard as season 2, 3, and 4. I don't know what changes were made. When a show wraps and they get into production for the second season, there's new angles to hit. There's new, there's even like, you go through the paperwork to see, what was received well, and you kind of like do more of that and less of this. Great first season, but nothing really moved me the first season. But I will say, like, first season to me, and even to this day, which makes this show fascinating, Maddi is the star of the show, yet even up to season 4, I'm like, where's the Maddi scene? Like, where is she? Maddi was working at Republic. She's, with Joe. She wasn't with Joe initially, but she's with Joe. They seem to have a really wonderful relationship. And I always find it funny, Maddi's the voice of the show. Like, when they do the, previously on Southern Hospitality, it'll always be Maddi. Maddi's, she has a DJ and a music career. She doesn't really... the rest of the cast, they have to kind of work at Republic, as she did once. Joe even does have to work at Republic, but it's not like this massive part of their lives. So Maddi is very interesting, because I have always, season 1, 2, 3, and 4, always loved Maddi. She's, and there's a little bit too where you feel like she's shared early on, like the whole time she's done the show, she's always been sober. And she sort of shared a little bit of like, maybe a harder life, in her coming up, and how that gets real rocky. And now you're, seeing this cast member on this show, season 1, and you're like, oh, she's actually lived a lot, and so you're seeing a different side of her already. So I always felt like she was very interesting to me. Maddi is the star of the show, yet I'm like, half the time I forget Maddi's on the show. And that's not even a diss. That's just a very unique thing about this show. They really don't, when you watched Vanderpump, and I don't want to continuously compare. You knew that, like, Stassi was the star of the show, and even though Sheena wasn't the star of the show, she was very instrumental. Like, you could love Kristen and you could love Katie, but you needed Sheena to be the oil and vinegar kind of mix. You needed that. So with Southern Hospitality, like, I have to say Maddi is the star, like, but at the same time, she's just, you don't rely on a scene from her. It's almost like she's doing the show, and maybe she was more instrumental season 1. I'll have to go back and watch. But it's almost like it's evident that she doesn't really need to be in the mix of the show. But of course, doing the show is very, valuable and has helped her music career and stuff like that. Now, I don't know if that will ever hit. Will that ever be a thing where it's like, you never want to be in a situation, and I'm not saying she's doing this, but where you're using an experience. Like, okay, you're only doing Southern Hospitality because it's helping these other business ventures, But, Leva, she has a short fuse and she runs a tight ship. So maybe, I think Leva just never wants to be the person that will overextend and will understand, okay, like, this is more what you do, let's have this relationship, but just never take that for granted, because it is a thing that you could never get confused that, like, oh, they need me more than I need them. Is that the term? Yeah, like, they need me more than I need them. And that could be true, but when you leverage that, you always got to make sure you don't overplay your hand. And that's for Joe, too. Okay, now let's talk about Joe. Joe is a little bit more instrumental in the show. I feel like Maddi is just never in the show. Though I love her, I just never see her in the show. And she's the lead, but I never see her. The dynamic is so crazy. Now, Joe, oh, do I love Joe? Have I always loved Joe? Joe, season 1, season 2, season 3, season 4. I mean, Joe has mastered the confessional scenes where he says the cheesiest, corniest joke at the very end of the scene. He looks into the camera and he just, like, gives a little bit of a giggle. He's like, not a bimbo himbo in no type of way. I'm sure he's so smart and so educated, but he does rely and live on his charm a little bit. But I also think this too. You know how you're looking good one of these days. Whenever you're looking good, sometimes it's okay to, like, feel like, oh, I made a joke there and everyone laughed. Am I funny? Or do they think I'm cute? And Joe sort of has a little bit of, like, why not be charming? And he's working in hospitality, so it matches up. The only thing that Joe really struggles with is, like, and I mean, gosh, like, we're not judging here. Oftentimes I feel like my own career is in the toilet, but as it goes, peaks and valleys, baby, peaks and valleys. But Joe, like, is at that pressure point in his life where he just turned 30, and it's like, what does the future look like? And everyone is different, but I will say, and gosh, I don't even want to venture to think about the next giant birthday I have, but for my own life, like, you have all the monumental birthdays, 16 years old, you could drive a car. 18 years old, you could go to, what, I don't know what you could do at 18. 21, you could drink, all these things, right? 25, oh my God, I'm such an adult now. And I've since been over 30 and even over 35, just a hair over 40. But listen, the only one, and I'm relating this to Joe, the only one that had ever made me a little bit nerve-wracked was turning 30. 30 was the only one that I got a little, like, verklempt. Now, that could have been for other reasons, too. It's always about where you are in your life, too. Or maybe, like, who you thought you were supposed to be versus, like, what reality starts to feel like. It could be a number of things, but I will say, of all the birthdays, and I say this all the time when anyone does have a big, like, oh my gosh, I'm 40 and I haven't achieved my goals, or I'm, I could have one of my younger cousins, they're in their early 20s, and it's like, they're excited or not excited, anxious about 22, 23. It's like, I understand everyone's going to get anxious at any age. However, the only birthday age I would relate as one that was a little daunting was 30. There's just something a little bit different about 30. There's something just a little bit different about 30 years old. And so Joe is such a great character for the show. I'm like, give him 7 more seasons. Give him a spinoff. because you've got a charming guy who normally doesn't seem to get overwhelmed by many things, but this is like, kind of a mirror up in his face as to like, hey, you got to grow up. And for a person, that's hard. For a reality TV character, obviously these are real people, but for a reality TV character, this is fun to watch because it's a way for Joe to have his sail kind of, taken away a little bit, which is crazy because he is so amazing, so kind on the TV. We don't know him, but on the TV, so charming. He's got the most gorgeous girlfriend in Maddi, and doesn't some people are so high stress, they're wound real tight. I could relate. And, everything bothers them, so you go to the grocery store and you don't find, the loaf of bread that you were shopping for. You're like, I don't buy this brand, I buy this brand. Joe seems light most of the time. And so Joe having everything perfect, great job, this career that also encompasses, being on this show, previously dating for a moment at least, Luann, like he's had a life. Republic, Charleston, what a great town. Gorgeous girlfriend. I said, like, he's got all these things. But then, like, to have this, like, I'm 30, what is life really supposed to look like? Am I growing up? Like, that whole dynamic is just very interesting because he is pretty chill most of the time. So I'm kind of interested to see what that does. And also, too, Joe, I mean, in my opinion, it's like, the rule book is written, but you can write your own rule book. And I think he's a happy guy. I don't know. I just love him on the TV. He has just been so fun every single season. There would be no, second, third, fourth season without Joe from the beginning. I wish I could go back to season 1 and do all the Joe-isms that made the show so good with him in it. But he's been great. TJ, season 1 as well. The season 1 people are Mia, TJ, Maddi, Joe, and Emmy, right? And I think that's it. And Leva. There's been other casts that have come in and out. TJ to me has been the perfect slow burn. Like, he was fine season 1. I don't know if he was trying to find his footing with reality TV, but even as you see season 2, 3, and 4, he can be assertive when needed, but he's also a very, I wouldn't say laid back. He's a very like what is a term like where you're relaxingly dismissive. Like, how you're around somebody and if you're insecure and they don't give you that affirmation, you're like, oh, what's wrong? They're like, literally nothing. I didn't say nothing's wrong. But they don't necessarily like gas you up, and he seems like that. He seems like isn't really a jerk unless he's ready to be a jerk, which I think he does that well also. But he has a very dismissive, and I don't know if it's like a protective, he has that personality. So I didn't really get a lot from him season 1 as a viewer, but season 2, 3, and 4 he has really coming together. I love the way season 4 panned out. It was a very interesting run with the playfulness of Michols, but that essentially was 2 completely different worlds. And I would love to see what he is really looking for in terms of dating. And I think maybe there is something there, they have their big finale party, and he gets to kind of entertain Maddi Rossi from essentially kind of The Bachelorette show by way of The Bachelorette, by way of, I think it was Jen's season. I don't watch The Bachelorette like that. So the whole thing is quite interesting, but sometimes things just feel like, as a viewer at least, it feels like when we're watching it, it fits like a glove. And so there's just been something that, like, even the last 2 seasons, I've been like, in my head, I was like, I think TJ gets a bad rap maybe, or people don't see his value. And so it's kind of crazy, like, from me thinking that he's just continued to elevate. And a lot of people don't need to tell you their achievements or tell you their goals or tell you what they want or tell you what they're upset about. They just kind of process it and do it. But I also think too, one would say, well, wouldn't that make him a boring reality cast member? Me personally, I think TJ's fantastic. 5 stars. Now we're going to go from TJ, who's 5 stars, but literally, like, spin her off, give her a spin off. Mia is the star of the show. And yes, 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 yes. I don't know. Mia West, did it happen? Did it not happen? How did it happen? Was Sally Carson there? Does Sally Carson know? What does Sally Carson know? How is Sally Carson doing her job, her career? She owns her own home. She, frolics with Austin at times, and it does the Southern Charm TV show. How does she have time to know what's going on with West and Mia? But she's a superstar. I'm telling you, these cast members are built different. I really like them all. Mia, the pageant girl who only worked at Republic really season 1, but thankfully the show's producers know, keep her in the mix of this show. She's just so great to watch. So entertaining. I mean, quite literally the most gorgeous girl that is on Bravo TV. I mean, it's like undoubtedly, yeah, I mean, look at me, I blush. I blush when I think of Mia on Southern Charm and her enthusiasm. But now let me say, I was shocked because, one of my favorite things about reality TV is when two cast members that I really like don't like each other. I'm not saying that this is what I like, but it's fascinating to me. So I always use the example as well. Huge Real Housewives of New Jersey Melissa Gorga fan, as much as I'm a huge Real Housewives of New Jersey Dolores Catania fan. So, and I'm more Melissa, which is no diss to Dolores. I'm just, the pretty girls. I like Melissa. So when Melissa and Dolores don't like each other, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is captivating TV, because it's not like when you're watching somebody and you don't like the other cast member. So then you get excited or whatever because your favorite person is kind of giving the business to the person you don't enjoy watching. It's cool, but it's obvious. Whereas when you like them both, you're like, oh, Dolores, that was a good one. And then Melissa will do a comeback, and you're like, "Yeah, Melissa, you got her." And so you get like excited because you like both cast members. Okay, so I like Mia. Mia will be the Melissa again, the pretty girls. Mia, but also Lake is gorgeous too. But Mia is like my Melissa. Like I like them both, Mia and Lake, but Mia is like, oh, it's Mia. And by the way, Lake just started last season. Lake is fantastic. So fun. She is just, I love last season. She took the cast members to the lake house. I love the up and down relationship with her father. She's trying to be more expressive and more open to share with her father, and he's giving little bits of that, but she's still, she's not but maybe 23 years old. So, there will be a time where that may be a little more of a challenging thing, where she's right now receiving what he can give, and a lot of times people at some stage in their life, they're like, no, I'm going to require all of it or none of it, which, is combative, but it's interesting to see where she's at right now. And hopefully he crosses over and can give more of what she needs, the father, to Lake. But either way, it's interesting to see that particular point. And Lake has just been so incredible on the show. She's artsy. And when Lake and Mia go back and forth, I'm going to be honest, maybe because Lake is brand new to the show and she's younger, I thought Mia, and this is no diss to Mia, look at me going back and forth. I am playing the fence today. I saw when Mia and Lake were going back at it, in my head, I says, okay, you know what? You want to know something? Like Lake is going to just be, she's going to be out of her league. She's going to have met her match. But no. Like Lake gave it good to Mia and Mia gave it good to Lake, and Lake says, what is you're the VIP, you're going to have to wait. You just worked here like a day, and you're not Beyonce, so we're not going to roll out the red carpet for you. Lake's, she was just so crunchy in the best possible way. But again, I'm a Mia, Melissa Gorga, but I also love Lake and Dolores, That's just how I'm comparing the two. So that was fascinating. Again, Mia, give her a spinoff, and Lake, for what it is, coming in on her second season, hitting the ground running. The only hard part about her is she ended up having to wear her heart on her sleeve a little bit too much this season. And, her falling out with Michols was a challenge, and she wore it. And, Lake is just, of the cast members, she's more the younger one. So when you see her down and out, it's kind of harder to watch. You want her to have a little bit more of a pick me up, and sometimes you're like, oh man, like the person that would have done it would have been Michols. Michols as a cast member, I mean, it is just so without saying, he's great. Number two, I love that when he was on Watch What Happens Live, he talked about Andy Cohen. We need Real Housewives of Miami to come back, and here's why. But I don't think, there was a big, even in his interviews leading to the season, or even reaction, was that his first season was so perfect, and it was, and that the second season was so bad. And it was a tougher one. But I think Michols will have went through a very hard season 2, but I think season 3, I have not, as a viewer, not come out of this like he did show his ass to a degree, almost literally. But I don't, sometimes when somebody has a really rough second season, you have this inability to enjoy them on the camera, for the next season. As a viewer, you just you kind of lose the steam that you once had. I don't think that's with Michols. I think, yes, season 2 it will be an introspective, he'll have to have introspection and really break down, what it is that didn't work. But I think the best is yet to come with Michols. That's the thing. I think you sort of pitch up a really good version of yourself, your season 1, and then season 2, you could lose yourself. And they all talk about his ego, but I mean, sometimes you are on this particular platform, this TV show, to film a show and to be confident. And if he's coming from a space that he didn't have confidence within from his family, this is not to defend him, but if he didn't have that from the beginning, that is a bit of overcompensating. I mean, there's a show on Amazon called Overcompensating, and that could show up in different ways. And I'm not going to be somebody who saw a rough Michael season 2 and then all of a sudden have no, I'm in my head, I have a lot of faith that, oh yeah, he will come back season 2, and I'm sorry, 3, and this will just be a blip in his career with the show, especially now that Leva is sort of transitioning his position from, he was the AGM, and then now it's going to be a little bit more broad and loose. Now the other cast members were trying to say, oh, that he, sort of got a demotion. But I think sometimes, even if it is a little bit of that, I think Leva does have to realize, this isn't a normal situation within her employees. And some of them, when presented this opportunity, they're going to be doing other things, especially at this particular stage in their career and their lives. And sometimes it's about how you address it, even as the person. If he takes it as a demotion, then it'll be a demotion. It'll be very hard for him. If he takes it as, okay, so I still get to be a part of this thing that really helped me and was my identity to a degree, and I really loved being that boss, at the Establishment Republic, that you take that and you take, I guess, Leva said it when they had their meeting, it gives him room to, he has his wings to fly now, to really go off and do other things. But most importantly, it could be looked at as Maddi at one point was more in tune with the day-to-day working at Republic, but then she, essentially doesn't at all, really. Mia, not at all. So you could take it and still maximize the thing. So I don't know. I just think I was really, sort of getting a sense that Michael's season 2 was going to be so bad. It was bad, but I thought there was a lot of learning and teachable moments. And he's, little moments where you could be like, wow, I didn't know I flew off the handle. And more importantly, should it be that rough to, Molly, let's say. The Molly situation is just tough. Molly, I liked her first season. This would be her third season, right? Either way, Molly's great. I don't think we got the best Molly, and this is not to her. We didn't get enough of her. Her little bits with Michols as her main portion of her story, I felt like I enjoyed more of what they showed her in the previous seasons. So if I had to rate Molly's season, it was a strong 2.5 stars or 3 stars, but I don't think it was her fault. I think, you're doing a show. I don't even think it's production's fault. I just think it didn't fit in. But had we, had the show been following, Molly's story, I think maybe, we could have got more. Emmy, in some ways, the train wreck of the show. Emmy is just trying to over explain a side of a thing, and she does it wrong each and every time. What I loved about Emmy before in the early seasons is, unfortunately, her relationship, who she's engaged to, it seems like he puts a lot of pressure and or lies out there in terms of them, and she has to sort of absorb it. And that's the part that's hard to watch, but in the context of this show, because her fiance didn't do the show this season, it really left Emmy sort of in a worse place, but sort of in a better place. I think the more confusing times were when he was on the show. Her fiance is Will. And when they did the show together, I actually think it was harder for her. Because, again, he will say one thing, it'll present oddly to the group, and then she has to sort of cover it up in some kind of way. Or absorb it, or dilute how it makes her look or whatever. That was a mental gymnastics that Emmy became great at, but still really, really hard. Really, really hard. And so somehow, it's almost as if, and who knows why he didn't do the show this particular season. I mean, last season he was there, chose not to do the reunion. Maybe the production didn't want to work with him because of stuff like that, him deciding not to do the reunion. The whole thing about these shows is you do the reunion, you could explain yourself. But something about it, in my opinion, it kind of was like Emmy had a harder season, and she definitely put her foot in her mouth way more times. However, I think going forward, she might be better to do this show just on her own. Because, yeah, he kind of dragged her down. She may love him, and he may love her. Emmy and Will sitting in a tree, KISSING, and they're happy, and they're married, and all that stuff. But the show was not working, which is kind of unfortunate because the earlier seasons, like Will was friends with like Brad, TJ, Joe. So I'm thinking back to the early seasons, like it is a big loss for him not to be on the show. But, this it's as if it won't work. It's not going to work with Will and Emmy together, while the show, it just doesn't seem like it's going to work. Emmy's stuff with Brad. Oh my God, Brad, talk about another, just like what I said about TJ, the steady rising of Brad. Didn't even necessarily know or check for him season 1, and then he is just getting better and better. I mean, he's dressing better. He's got that girlfriend now. Got like a sense of style, and I don't know if that's the actual clothing. Like, he's always been in great shape because he does fitness is his other work outside of working at Republic, but I think it's the girlfriend. The girlfriend, you could put a bigger smile on your face sometimes, makes you a little, you're glistening with joy because he really is having a great time within doing this show for the 4 seasons. Earlier on, we just knew him with the business, really. And it was a really wonderful season. I mean, obviously he had to, deal with a lot with Emmy. Oh my gosh. That was like to come at someone's character, does not sit well. And he even would make his like steps to like, this was how I saw it. This was my side of things, et cetera, et cetera. And it just, her communication really, I felt like they were talking to 2 different people. Like Brad was talking not to Emmy, or I mean, he was, but she wasn't listening. And then she would talk to him and he wasn't listening. They were just like both fed up, but sort of forced to continue the conversation maybe. But either way, Brad and the new girlfriend, I mean, it's just like, I'm like, oh, okay. And she had to like, not only did she surprise the group, at the, cast vacation, but she also like had to tell Emmy what she thought. She had to kind of show up and say, this is what I think of this and that and this is your shortcomings and this is your problem. And, I don't appreciate. And maybe Brad even feels better about that too. He's like, wow, like I got a good girlfriend and she, essentially, helped with this BS that I've been dealing with. And that's got to make him feel like, that's my girl. That's my girl. Okay, so what other cast members do we have? We have Brad, we have Emmy, we have Michols, we have Molly, we have... Oh, okay, Justin. Okay. Of the, like, it seems like they keep bringing in cast members that are like, who's a new cast member, like Oseen, I think, was one. Who was the other guy? Was his name Kyle? I want to say Kyle. I'm not sure if his name was Kyle. I actually thought he could have had another season, but whatever. Justin, to me, maybe it's because he's with Charley from Southern Charm, but like Justin felt like he'd already always been in this cast. Like, you know what I mean? Like, Justin, to me, 5 stars, fits in. I don't know if he's going to have trouble later on, talking to Maddi in a certain way, but nonetheless, like, Justin just really felt like he belonged part of the show always, even though it's his first season. So, I'm very interested to see. He's got a real fun, like, real relaxed energy that I enjoy watching. The opposite of how we were talking earlier about like being wound really, really tight. And I just think it's so cool, I mean, even making the jokes like, well, I don't know, 30%, and then he has this situationship, and then he was living in Charleston, but then he's also lived here, there, and everywhere. He is sort of like a free bird, and he's very fun to watch. Very, he's kind of, I mean, not trying to, but he's rivaling Joe at the Job Republic, and I don't know, just a lot of fun. Like I said, a lot of these cast members, yes, there's the drama. I mean, we talk about Emmy and her really, not so wonderful language and descriptions of events. That was bad. But, and Michols just yelling at everybody. But overall, I think Southern Hospitality, this cast is a fun, good group together. They one thing that's cool too is you see a lot of like their own outside businesses. TJ has the hot dogs, as his business that he's making a whole brand. I said that Lake with the art, Maddi, music production along with DJing and, sort of taking that internationally as well. Like, I really like the way you see all these outside ventures as well. It's from being at the establishment right there on King Street in Charleston Republic, but it's also like what else they want to do with the opportunity. Michols wants to model, so you'll be seeing some of that. That has been such a miraculous thing. Like, again, the drama, is it there on the show? Sure. That's why the show's been on 4 seasons. But what each of the cast members are doing does kind of go back to early Vanderpump Rules, where like at least they had other goals. Like, you could laugh at it all you want, but Sheena wanted to do this and Tom Sandoval wanted to do that, and Kristen, she moved to LA to be an actress. Like, it doesn't mean everyone's going to accomplish what they want, and careers and goals and life will change, but like to see that process, I've always thought was the coolest thing, really. I go back to like on an MTV, sans the really interesting thing to look back upon, but a show like Making the Band I always liked because I loved the pounding the pavement of like chasing your dream, doing something. And, sometimes it's not enough to just like have a show and here's the premise, Leva's amazing, here's her business, here's the cast. That's like sometimes not enough. And luckily this cast gets that. They're like, I'm going to, Brad, I'm going to create this fitness empire. This is cool to watch. To me, it's inspiring. Inspiring, fun. You see the trials and tribulations. Like, it's all good stuff. Okay, Grace Lilly was on season 1. I forgot. Grace Lilly was on season 1. Grace Lilly was on that darn season 1. Grace Lilly is like, I guess she's fun to watch because her character, as portrayed on the show, could kind of get under your skin as a viewer. I would have never thought she would have made a season 4. But on the good side of things, it looks like she needs not like the work, like the money, although maybe. But it looks like she needs this. Like, this is all helpful. Doing these shows are so difficult, but they're also very helpful, so you can see and adjust and grow from, like, sort of how you are, in some ways. So she's definitely had a troubled season in a lot of ways, and or a couple of seasons really. And it doesn't seem like she's really meshing with a lot of the people as much. maybe that time is sort of on its way out, so she's kind of in a vulnerable place. Like, have I burned too many bridges? But yeah, Southern Hospitality, just wanted to kind of drop in some thoughts on the show. Not saying it's overrated per se, but I know it's like not always getting the hype of, Summer House, which I've been watching since season 1. In the City, the Valley, some of the Housewives, Real Housewives of Rhode Island, which is very good of a show. I love that show. And then it's like Southern Hospitality it's not fully, sort of crossed over into like being, this big hit. So I hope it doesn't have any issues with, I hope it gets a season 5, a season 6, a season 7, all that stuff. Got great potential, that show does. And it's very entertaining. And I find myself watching it and then having some chuckles, like, oh, that made me laugh. Mia telling Lake where to go and how to get there. And Lake saying, well, I'm going to tell you where to go and how to get there. I mean, it's so fun. So, and it's done really great for Leva and her businesses, which I think is cool. So, yeah, I mean, do you enjoy Southern Charm more, the original, or do you like this spin-off, Southern Hospitality? I do think it was funny that at the BravoCon, Leva said, oh, okay, Austin, the original cast from Southern Charm. Well, Austin's not original, but the original flagship show. You guys weren't really supporting this. And I think that's kind of a cool thing to kind of throw back at Austin and whoever wasn't. Not to be mean, but when somebody is trying to do something different, oh gosh, the pushback is always so darn challenging. And so I'm never a person who wants to do anything to be like, I told you so, or, I'll show you that. Like, I'm very like, if I don't feel your energy and it's not really working, it's like, I just want to like, okay, whatever. Enjoy you, and then never really, I've had friends in the past. Well, when I do blank, 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 this, and this, I'm going to blank, 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 this, and this, and let them have it. I'm always like, what? When I'm succeeding, I want to let it. Why do I want to talk to them? However, in BravoTV, Bravo World, they have to do something like a BravoCon, and for that conversation to come up, I thought that was good for Leva to put a little bit of like stress there to say like, you guys really didn't, you made it harder. And sometimes just like a little sentence like that is good. You made it harder and you didn't need to. You could have done nothing, but you made it harder with your lack of support or, whatever they did. I don't know. I'm sure they're great. But anyways, are you more of a fan of Southern Charm? Are you more of a fan of Southern Hospitality? What do you see for a season 5 of Southern Hospitality? Do all cast members come back? Does Molly get promoted and kind of more so get a full-time position? Because again, she was the only one that I like, but I also am like, oh, we didn't get enough of her. I mean, we got a lot of her, but I hate it when there's somebody I like as a cast member and we only get the one portion of them. And for most of it, it was, well, I don't know, but I don't know. The Molly's Michols thing I was just not so much into, but I do like when something like that happens. And then Mia runs to the table with her eyes get real big, and she's like, what happened? What happened? Mia eggs everything on in the best possible way. Oh my, give me a spinoff tomorrow. Andy Cohen and Bravo TV and Peacock streaming. Give her a spinoff tomorrow. Put her on like The Bachelor, Bachelorette. Put her on Dancing with the Stars. Put her on Peacock Streaming's The Traitors. We want more Mia. More Mia. Southern Hospitality is a fun show to watch. I don't know.